Okay, hello, welcome back to Unconventional Computing, CS492 in fall 2024. We're approaching the end of the semester. We only have very few sessions left, but today's session is a very exciting topic, slime mold computing. Highly unusual, highly unconventional, and thus perfect for the topic of this entire course. And this topic will be presented by Kaleb. So I'm now going to switch focus to Kaleb. And please introduce yourself and then start the presentation.
Just to clarify, can you hear my voice? You can see me and you can hear my voice, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm really excited to be here and to present about slime mold computing. As Professor explained, it's a really unique kind of, therefore a very can be a really good example of unconventional computing. So I will now share my screen and present my contents. Let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, I believe you can see my screen now. So yeah, hello everyone again. This is unconventional computing class, and yeah, slime mold computing is a very good example and really unique because I think it's the one of the few unconventional computing techniques which is solely based on the workaround of living organisms, which is some species of amoeba instead of literally any other thing. So as we know, like unconventional computing refers to like non-traditional methods, but like why does slime mold stands out as like a unique approach is because so the name of the organism is called yellow slime mold, or in its scientific or taxonomic name, Physarum polycephala. So even though it's brainless, I was very fascinated when I saw like so many YouTube videos about it. It acts as if it has some kind of sense organs attached, some kind of brain, which analyzes its own algorithms and patterns. So, um, uh, uh, so it tries to interact with its environment, find optimal paths, and create networks that resemble solutions that resemble to like real world algorithmic solutions, which is conducted by human beings. So like it does so like in a way that kind of like mimics tasks like finding the shortest path in a maze and like optimizing some network layout of a network. So like by observing the like the natural behavior of slime molds, researchers were able to discover that like such simple organisms can perform very interesting and rapid computations. So like very briefly, I think it might be just best to just touch upon its life cycle. We're not going to dive deeply because we're mainly interested in computing part, like how does it perform computing. So not all life cycles of this organism is capable of performing the computing. It has so many other stages, like it reproduces by spreading spores around it, just like any other single cell amoeba. But there's a stage of that organism where it diffuses its nuclei first, its nucleus first. Nucleus is just one of the organelles inside a cell. Then mainly it uh, uh, the stage called plasmodium stage. It's kind of the same stage as amoeba, the parasite that we know. So like during that plasmodium stage, like that slime mold becomes a stage where it divides its nuclei, but without dividing its cell. So it's kind of the same as a single cell, but with so many compartments. And it's the interaction of those compartments with each other and their direction of flow, which mimics or which makes the algorithm to mimic the way it solves problems. So, uh, like, I would like to annotate something. So, this is I'm going to show detailed so many YouTube videos with simulation, but just to give a rough idea on how it solves maze. I believe you can see my annotation here. So this is the organism, and uh, as you can see here, it creates protoplasmic tubes. What does protoplasmic tube? So this is cell. For the purpose of this video, I've drawn this cell pretty big, but as you know, one cell is really, really not close to this big. So uh, the fluid is, so this is a cell membrane here, and there's nucleus, but upon dividing, I explained that the nucleus of the plasmodium multiplies, and then this is the cytoplasm, just the fluid inside the cell. So cytoplasm with the nucleus together form protoplasm. And you know, it tries to direct its protoplasmic tubes by connecting food sources. I will get to that in detail when we investigate the techniques where slime mold uses its technique to solve a maze. So it just extends its protoplasmic tubes. So as it moves and search for food, it extends its network, and yeah, that connects its source with its destination. So and not just it doesn't just draw any kind of connection between any 2 points. It managed to optimize its routes. That's what makes it very fascinating to be studied. So for nutrient transport, similar to the way that engineers use to optimize, let's say, transport networks across cities, slime mold computing tries to find its pathway uh, with such algorithms. So what are the unique features which enable that cellular organism to solve problems? It's because of its interaction with its environment. It's highly sensitive to the stimuli or the change around it. So I saw from so many references that there are two kinds of uh, nutrients for slime mold. Couple group of nutrients are called chemoattractants. As the name indicates, they just attract the slime mold, and they're repellents. So they're basically gradients or changes of that environment that cause the slime mold to either attract towards that particular environmental change or away from that environmental change. For example, food can attract, but food is not chemoattractant. I mean, yes, it attracts, but chemoattractants are specialized chemicals which attract the slime mold. So it adjusts its network in order to, get away from the repellents and in order to be attracted by, or in order to get its path to chemoattractants. Okay, uh, let's proceed. Oh, delete my drawing here. So, okay, now what are the steps that researchers used to prove that slime mold actually computes something? So it's a natural optimization machine by just depending on its sensory organelles, because it's really a cellular organism. It tries to direct its flow of fluids inside its cell. And by directing the flow in an optimal path, it, moves and creates an efficient path. So how did scientists find out that it actually computes? So they were very clever enough to map the problem. So in a sense that, for example, for a food placement, they placed usually oat flakes on a petri dish in locations that represent specific points. For example, when we want slime mold to simulate the optimal path between cities in a transport network, they place the slime mold in a shape which is similar to the way that the cities are arranged. They don't just arrange the slime molds in a random places. And then, so placement of the slime mold is very key. And they also place the food and the slime mold to simulate that computing process. And then they study the path finding. So The slime mold, as I explained, it interacts with its environment and forms optimal and efficient pathways between its food source. And it does so by, so there are so many ways that we will see, but for example, one obvious method that the slime mold was seen to use was laying out all the possible pathways and then eliminating eliminating inefficient or paths which are not shortest to the destination. So how does it do that? We will see in detail later. Then uh, oh, uh, give me just a second. Yes. Okay, now, yeah, this is the exciting part. How does slime mold solve any kind of maze? I will show a detailed YouTube illustration, but let me try to explain the process briefly. So there are we will see two main mechanisms where slime mold solves maze. One, the first mechanism is by spreading out itself to the entire maze and trying to reach out that destination. And two, with the action of the chemoattractants and repellents, which force it to, reach to the optimal solution. Let's see the first stage. So the first prototype, how does it optimize network? So first, the slime mold will be, okay, I would like to go again. I can assure that I will provide a more detailed illustration. So let me draw a maze here. So at first, the slime mold is, just introduced throughout the maze, and it will, spread around the entire maze, and it develops a network of those tubes that we just explained. So at this stage, the slime mold is, it explores all the possible pathways because it spreads its entire cellular organism throughout the entire maze. And then after the slime mold, spreads around, scientists placed two oat flakes, which are food source irresistible. The scientists call them irresistible food sources for the slime mold between the starting point of the maze and the destination of the food, the destination of the maze. Then what happened was the slime mold responded to the change or the food placement. So tubes, because I explained the slime mold is now everywhere, and the tubes, the protoplasmic tubes between the two food sources were thickened. They were thickened, and the tubes that do not connect to the sources, which are tubes which do not transport the nutrients, began to shrink with reducing, cytoplasmic flow between those points. So these tubes eventually collapse. This is similar to, like, let's say, pruning techniques or eliminating some inefficient paths after an attempt to solve a problem. Then the only thickened structure of the thickened structure followed by the organism is proven to show that the path is actually the shortest path to solve the maze. So I would like to show you very, very short visualization on how slime mold achieves that. I would like to invite you to take a look at this video. Can you see my YouTube video? Just confirmation.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's check this. That sound also is shared.
Okay. This one doesn't have sound. I would like to explain by myself by seeing the animation. So look at this video. So as you can see, this is the first stage, inoculation stage, where the slime mold is trying to distribute its whole, let's say, body for its purpose in an attempt to solve a problem. This is the first stage, inoculation stage. Then scientists already placed the two food sources. And look how the paths between, okay, so these are the two sources. As you can see from the bottom left corner of the picture and just the bottom part of the picture, these are the two sources of oat flakes. You can see some cereals brought by the scientists. So there should be an optimal path between these two destinations. So let's see if this slime mold can find the path between the two. Okay, now it's extending its body through all the possible solutions. Then after it connects the two routes, its cytoplasmic fluid between these two paths thickens and the other collapse. And as you can see, this is the the others collapse. As you can see, now there is no slime mold anymore in the other paths. So this is the solution, which is executed by the slime mold to solve the mess. Okay, now let's see the second type of the second mechanism where slime mold solves mess. So in this second prototype, it doesn't distribute itself, it utilizes chemo attractions. So same thing, the slime mold will be inoculated or introduced to the entire maze, but it's not introduced. I mean, it's introduced in one of the exits of the maze. Then the oat flake release chemoattractants. So the oat flake is the change or the stimuli, which is very irresistible and positive for the slime mold. So these chemical signals diffuse through the channels of the maze and they spread around the maze, creating the favorable change which was required by the slime. Then extends its protoplasmic tubes to the nearby channels. Then when the slime mold exploration reaches a point where it can detect the change of the chemoattractants, it stops expanding. So how is this method different from the first stage? Is that the first stage is kind of brute force. It's trying to spread itself in all the possible paths. But in this prototype, it only depends on the path where it detected the sense of the chemoattractant. So it doesn't just spread to the entire maze. So that's why we label this solution as more efficient, much more efficient than the first prototype. Then the entire process is the same. It just thickens the path between the chemoattractants and its path. And so it's more efficient because it doesn't require the slime mold to spread out itself. However, this method has limitations. It only works like if it only works due to the presence of the chemoattractant guiding the entire path. So it kind of like reduced the role of the slime mold, but it it can eventually find the optimal path, which is still pretty fascinating. Okay, now let's see how slime mold solves multiple problems. Because the previous methods we saw is just the fundamental way that slime mold tackles such algorithmic problems and how it come up with its own algorithm to find optimal paths. Now I will guide you through how this algorithmic technique of the slime mold used to solve like problems that we know, like Towers of Hanoi, TSP, and all those things. Okay, so this is called Towers of Hanoi problem. So what's the problem? Let me just briefly explain about the problem first. So it's a classic, I think most of you knows this problem. So it's a classic mathematical puzzle where you can see these A, B, and C, the stand kind of things are called pegs, and this horizontal placed equipments are called discs. So we have discs and pegs. So we have to arrange these discs into pegs in such a way that so the objective is like to move the entire stack arranged in this order to another peg where only one disk is moved to another peg at a time, and a disk can only be placed on a top of a larger disk, which is the immediate bottom of the disk should be larger than the one placed on the top of it. So what's the challenge? So the challenge is to find the optimal sequence of steps or sequence of paths that results in like transferring the entire stack to another peg with the smallest move possible. So it's very complex because as as the number of pegs and the number of disks grow, the possible ways to solve the problem gets incredibly like exponentially very high. But the way that we solve this problem is we model the pathway or the sequence of steps in a form of planar graph. How do we do that? I would like to show you this 3 blue 1 brown video. Okay, so this is the planar graph illustration of the towers of Hanoi from its initial stage to the final solution. Let's try to see it clearly. So, for example, if you see this illustration, it's the stage where all the to make the situation simple, I chose the 3 peg and 3 disk setting of the Hanoi problem. And so yeah, just pick one of the stages in a graph. They represent the the sequence of stage where the solutions can be found. And then the final solution is the optimal path between these planar graphs. Yeah, so this is the stage where all the 3 pegs are only arranged in only on the left peg, and same goes for all the other nodes. Yeah, so the solution is just to find an optimal set of paths, which is or the solution is the shortest path to find the shortest path possible to navigate the entire graph, the entire planar graph. That's it. Okay, now let's see. We learned how to map a towers of Hanoi problem into a planar graph. Now let's see how to find the optimal path of this planar graph, which is the solution of the towers of Hanoi problem. So if you carefully follow the yellow arrows, they represent stages where you move one of the disk to the other peg and then the other disk to the other peg. These are the optimal sequence of steps which are required to solve the towers of Hanoi problem. Yeah, so you place 0 to the rightmost, and yeah, that's how it goes. Now, the interesting part, how does slime mold solves this problem? So after modeling the problem as a planar graph, scientists discover the way it acts around the planar graph problem setting of the towers of Hanoi. And so the first stage, yeah, in an experiment conducted by 2 scientists, the slime mold was proved to show the towers of Hanoi puzzle. So when the slime mold is introduced into a system which is the planar graph representing the towers of Hanoi puzzle, it distributes itself and explores all the possible configurations. Then as it evolves, okay, so I would like to be clear here that the nodes of the planar graph are simulated by oat flakes and a couple of oat flakes and a couple of slime molds in different locations. Okay, so the nodes of the planar graphs correspond to slime molds, and the slime mold should distribute itself, connect all the possible nodes, and then prune the inefficient pathways, creating a network which spans through the optimal solution of that directed planar graph, which is the solution for this Towers of Hanoi problem. So there is another interesting fact that when the two researchers, let's say, change the network, or maybe when they damage some part of the network, it was shown because it's food, it lost food, right? Like the planar graph's structure is changed. It's the same as, let's say, they just took one foot off the node. It was shown that the slime mold regrew. The slime mold regrew and dynamically changed its optimal setting. So this Towers of Hanoi problem shows two things at the same time. It shows that slime mold is indeed capable of getting an optimal path for a graph, plus it's also able to dynamically adjust itself or its environment to find or to change its solution according to the problem setting or according to the environment. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show. And the very famous problem of the very famous problem in computer science, the TSP, the traveling salesman problem, finding shortest path which spans throughout the entire cities. Very important to, let's say, come up with some optimal railway routes. So we approximate the shortest cyclic routes between the cities. How do we abstract that for the slime mold using nutrient attraction? So in a traveling salesman's problem, cities were represented as a channel in like star-shaped graphs with cities radiating from the central chunk, as you can see from the map of the US, and all the states presented as nodes here. So the graph consists of like 64 channels, with each channel representing a different configuration of city visits. Then the slime mold was inoculated, or inoculated means just introduced to the environment to diffuse itself. So as it propagates itself, it began to colonize channels, and then the experiment was using like recurrent neural network to control the propagation of the slime mold. And I would like to show you a video how slime mold mapped the Tokyo railway. So it's actually the same as modeling transport network. Oat flakes were used to represent major urban areas. It's actually the same as the traveling salesman problem. So let's see how slime mold was able to find the optimal routes in Tokyo, which has one of the best railway transports in the world, that engineers took long time to build this. So this is relatively longer video, but it's very interesting. I guarantee you. So let's try to watch it. Yeah, that's it. I have to admit, I was very
The region around Tokyo.
blown away by the skill of the slime mold. So if you see this section of the video here, the black dots represent the original label, actually they were cities, so there's nothing we can do about it. It's just the location, the initial location of the cities. So when the researchers placed the oat flakes or the treats of the slime mold, they just placed it at the same location of the cities. But what makes it interesting is the age. If you look at the age where the slime mold tried to optimally connect the edges to get all the oat flakes, it's very interesting that the path it chose is very similar with the optimal path which was studied by the Japanese scientists to build the railway, which took like several years. So yeah, this is what makes it mind-blowing, and what makes us very curious to study the organism. Okay, now I went back to my PPT. Can you see my PPT?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so it's actually the same. This is another application of the slime mold where it solves a minimum spanning tree, or where it tries to get the minimum spanning tree from a graph. It's exactly the same as. So the way we, put the or organize the oat flakes as graph, and we see the pattern of growth of the slime mold as it tries to search the oat flakes. So to give a little bit of ground here, spanning tree is it's okay. So from a graph, which might not be tree, it's a type of graph that connects like all nodes in a set without forming any cycles. This is called slime mold computing. So this the smallest possible sum of edge length which are required to achieve that path is called minimum spanning tree because it's minimum. So uh, so what's the Physarium's role? So yeah, as I explained repeatedly, planar data representation, just mapping out the oat flakes, then inoculation, the distribution of the slime mold. Then what makes it different from the other solutions here is the branching behavior of the slime mold. So it was shown that if multiple oat flakes are nearby, the slime mold is branching out to connect them, as you can see from the second or the middle image. And uh, uh, so this behavior is actually similar how traditional algorithms work to try to find out the minimum age between nearby vertices and get the nearest one to connect those paths. Then over time, we saw that the slime will eliminate inefficient paths as search for food. Then yeah, the solution was proved to be similar with the minimum spanning tree, which was required to solve that graph. Okay, and now onto a more theoretical approach of the slime mold computing, which is the geometric applications. So I will go through them very briefly to save time. So there are diagrams called Voronoi diagrams. They are used to approximate like partitions based on like closeness or proximity. So it's a way of dividing plane into like region based on a distance between set of points. So like each point has like Voronoi cell and consisting of like all locations closer to that point than like to any other point. So the boundaries of these cells are formed by like bisectors. So if you, okay, I would like to annotate here. Here are the bisectors of the cell. So how does slime mold, manage to get the boundaries of this Voronoi diagram after the inoculation process? It's spread outwards from the center. First, it should be introduced in the center of the chamber, and it spreads outward in a circular way to like each inoculation site in a way similar to like how reaction diffusion waves spread from a source. So in multiple inoculation, okay, I would like to annotate here. So these are the inoculation sites, multiple inoculation sites, or it's just a fancy term to mean the places where the slime mold are placed. And then each of the slime mold circularly and in an outward fashion distributes itself. And then when two wavefronts of the slime mold expansion meet, this is considered as the boundary of the boundary or of the required Voronoi diagram. So the network boundaries between the different cross fronts of the Physarium was proved to show that it approximates the age of the Voronoi diagram. So like this is the process which creates the natural Voronoi diagram where like each expansion patterns in their boundaries represents like the territory of each slime mold, with boundaries marking the points which are like equidistant from the two neighboring points, because it's growing in a circular fashion. So the diameters are, or the radius are similar. So the distance between each of them is equal. That's why it's equidistant. And they also have applications in forming connections between closer points in a way which is similar to a triangulation process, which is called Delaunay triangulation. So it's just a dual graph of this Voronoi diagram, two graphs Voronoi diagram. So it connects a set of points in such a way that no point lies inside the circumference of any triangle or between like these points. And it also was shown to approximate non-convex shapes. So yeah, this is called concave hulls. So it's a set of points in a non-convex polygon. Convex polygon is a polygon whose all interior angles are less than 180 degrees. So, for example, this is an example of concave polygon. So, unlike a convex hull, which might look something like this, which creates a very small convex boundary around a cell, non-convex hulls follows the actual point more slowly because the expansion needs a little bit of attention here. So the Fusarium's role is in the same structure, because now I'm talking about the application. So it uses, similar or its fundamental algorithm, say, that I've explained earlier to tackle, to connect points in a concave hull. Okay, now let's go to a more different application of slime mold, which is computing circuits or logic gates in using slime mold. So Paisaria is used to create circuits, circuits like logic gates, fundamental of circuits, AND gate, OR gate, NOT gate, and so on. So food will be given as an input, light, chemical, like stimuli, actually entire stimuli will be given, and scientists study how the slime mold, lights up and lights up to simulate the logic gates. So for a detailed illustration, let's see this video.
Research at its most.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is how it's very fascinating application of slime mold to like create musical instrument and simulating the logic gates. So what are yeah, it seems like I'm done with the applications of this, or the ways that slime mold executes its algorithm to solve real life problems, transport, logic gates, maze, the TSP. We covered so many applications. Now I would like to explore the limitations or the challenge of implementing slime mold for solving this problem. So I think the first and the most important issue is scalability. The solution or the optimal path outlined by slime mold is not really scalable, or it cannot be applied to a very larger or like very complex problem setting. It's very challenging to apply because physically, like we cannot just put autoflicks in like arbitrary sites that we want and solve the like entire problem. So scalability is very challenging, and actually its dynamic nature. This may not be always harmful, because we we actually picked dynamic nature as benefits of slime mold, because its dynamic nature allows it to adapt to new solutions as the environment is changed. But this also comes with a side effect, because it will be very hard for scientists to understand its growth pattern. If it can rapidly adapt to new environment, it also means that the way that it grows over time is not always predictable. So this dynamic nature is like it has like both pros and cons, and it's highly susceptible for external factors like light, humidity, and other stimuli like chemoattractants and repellents like food or earthquakes, which might be challenge or not challenge depending on the resource we have. And one other challenge that I didn't list here is actually speed. It actually takes sometimes days to see the effects of slime mold computing coming up with an entire optimal solution. So they really pretty much take time to grow and explore their environment. So they're much slower than electronic computers. So in the future, maybe we don't know what will happen. We may be able to trigger a stimuli which helps them to grow very fast and come up with optimal solutions very quickly. So in the future, because this fundamental technique is shown to apply for many applications, I believe what we require is just having the curiosity to adapt their setting in a different domain, and we can see that they're actually able to generate so many optimal solutions in logistics, AI, in urban planning, especially because we talked in detail how they were used to map shortest path between cities in US states, also in Canada, and we practically saw how they mapped railway system of Tokyo. And we can also combine slime molds with conventional computing techniques for complex tasks, and this actually solves the scalability problem of slime mold computing. So as a final remark, I would like to say that it's very impressive to see an organism without a brain acting like it has brain and cleverly finding optimal solutions of planar graphs. This is because of its unique ability to direct or its control to direct its protoplasmic is just fluid inside a cell. Fluid inside a cell pass towards the stimulus that the organism wants. So it's energy efficient, like the slime mold computing as an unconventional computing. We do not really we just use the organism. We do not spend any kind of energy. Since its growth pattern is unpredictable, it's adaptable for a new environment. So it can be used as for optimization, for designing optimal networks, and sustainable computing. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I can take any questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, actually, Kaleb. It was a great presentation. And as usual, before we proceed to the Q&A session, we take a short break, like 3 or 4 minutes, for the students, for the participants to digest and to come up with questions. Please do make an effort to come up with questions, and Kaleb may or may not answer them. That's regardless. Questions are what we need next. Good. Break. And here we're back, ready to start the Q&A session. And I've enabled participants to unmute yourself and to start video in order to ask questions. But also you're welcome to write your questions in the chat.
Professor,
Yes?
so I can ask a question. Can you hear me? Can you speak up a little bit? Your voice is a bit far.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I had a question regarding the researchers and slime mold context. Can you tell once again how researchers are simulating the real world problem you mentioned in a setting that can maybe tackled by just slime mold?
Ah, that's a very good question because it might seem very unreal on how they can map cities like Tokyo to how can they bring that setting to like the petri dish of slime mold. Yes, this is I think very fundamental and valid question. So let me share my screen back again. So as you can see this graph here, just a second. Yes. So as you can see the graph here, the uh, the stimuli of the slime mold are not arranged randomly. They are arranged, for example, in this case, we can take oat flakes. They will be arranged in a similar pattern or in a similar location where the real world cities are located. So that's how they simulate the real world paths in in a petri dish setting, which makes it very suitable for observing the solution of the slime mold. And then they just see, luckily, if the slime mold diffuse in the right environment. And then after the pruning stage of eliminating the other parts, the only remaining parts will be the simulated as solution for that graph, which is the optimal solution for that graph that can be used in any context, either as a solution for as a minimum spanning tree solution or as solution for TSP or so on.
Yeah, thanks for the question and thanks for the answer. That's exactly how we should handle and continue the Q&A part. So I have one question. You mentioned lack of scalability. Just for a rough estimate, you showed some time-lapse video. How long is the actual time? Is it like hours or weeks or?
Yeah, it's actually days. So if you see this exact figure, it's just one process of finding the optimal path. So this is, I'm not sure if you can see, but here it says t is equal to 0d, the first day. Then the first day, it didn't even diffuse fully yet. Second day, third day. So to find this optimal route, which belongs to this application of network refining, for example, in this case, it is unfortunate to say that it actually takes a week. So yeah, scalability is actually a very big problem. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Professor, do you think this kind of computing is like widely studied? Because it's the first time that I see it, and it's very like mind-blowing to see how organisms achieve this.
Right. So that's a very good question, and actually it's a question that applies to maybe all presentations and to all the including my own presentations. I like to answer that the purpose of unconventional computing is as a forum, as a playground for brainstorming. It is when the first transistor was invented, nobody was even remotely able to conceive that it could be made so small that billions of them would fit onto a wearable device like your smartphone. But similarly, maybe some of the ideas that are expressed in the various presentations by the students, similarly, for now, it does not seem to scale or whatever, but you never know, and we also never know which one. And we emphasize for comparison that quantum computing is facing similar obstacles, scalability, right? So,
Yes, exactly.
but people at IBM or Google believe that these problems can be solved, but we never know. So it's important to keep an open mind. And similarly, for slime mold computing, one thing about slime mold computing, but also about like molecular logic, I like yesterday's talk, is that it parallelizes so very well, right? You can have just hundreds or thousands of these Petri dishes operate simultaneously. So that's one obvious way.
Because it's just the energy spent by the slime mold. As long as it's alive, it can, and it's also trying to find its food. So we can
Right.
guarantee that we don't have any energy case to execute it parallelly.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, if we find a way to like solve, especially the scalability issue, in my opinion, I think it has something which has like very high potential in the future.
Right, right.
Oh, thanks for the insight as well.
Further questions or comments? Maybe not. Then let us thank the speaker once again. Kaleb, very good presentation, very interesting, very lively. I'm now going to stop the recording